Well, hello everybody, Jason up, New 80s Revolution, Cave Monday. You know how I feel about Mondays. And yes, I am having a case of the Mondays. Let's see. Let's talk about some stuff before we go on. What's there to talk about? I don't need to keep talking about how excited I am about the garage and the cave renos. We've covered that. One idea for a portion of the garage is an eatery. You can buy restaurant booths on Facebook Marketplace, relatively cheap, 100, 150. I thought about maybe creating a little homage to fast food establishments, maybe get some 80s fast food decor. I don't know. Sky's the limit, but we're not there yet. So let's focus on the present. What else? I don't think anything. I think there's no updates. There's nothing to talk about. A bunch of stuff on eBay from me, Funko Pops. The Trump board game that I dug out of the crawl space. If anybody wants the Trump board game, it is available cheaper than what you'll find. It was valued really high. And then in the last 3 days, it just tanked. I don't know what else. That's all I got. Could you do FaceTime? Sure. All right, that's all I got. So let's do LJNs. We are done. We are done with the LJNs. It's over. We have done LJN Revisited for many weeks, and it's been a wonderful revisiting of my favorite toy line, of my favorite toy, of my favorite anything, really. And we will celebrate the conclusion tomorrow by announcing the nominees for the WWF LJN Slammy Awards. We did the categories a few weeks ago. We're going to do the nominees. And if I hadn't already announced it, the guest host, the guest presenter of the LJN Slammies is none other than our favorite Canadian import, Colin from Canada. That's right, Colin from Canada. Although his fee has drastically increased. But we'll take care of that. So that'll be fun. That will be fun. I can't wait for that, actually. I have some ideas about how I want to do it. It'll be fun. We did the categories already. You know the categories. Now we're going to do the nominees tomorrow to celebrate the end of LJN Revisited. But we did the Warlord already. We finished. Well, yes, we did. We finished with the LJNs. We did not conclude the line because the line is not yet concluded because somewhere around, I don't know, what was it, 87? 87, I was deep in the love affair with LJN Wrestling Superstars. Deep. And semi-committed to the G.I. Joe love. I loved the cartoon. I loved looking at the figures. I loved having a figure or two. 10, 12 was probably my max G.I. Joe figures. With all of my creative artistic ability, I made bases for Cobra and bases for Joe out of cardboard boxes. And really all that means is spray painting the cardboard box and then cutting a U-shaped door in it. That's it. That's how I made bases. And when I played with the Joes, I don't even remember what I would do. I think Cobra would steal one of the Joes, and then the rest of the Joes would have to like get to the base, but they'd have to fight the Cobra. So there was no shooting because you're killed off if you make contact. So I would have fights. They would just fight. So it was really just wrestling, but with Joes. So anyway, it's 87, and again, deep into the LJN world. Certainly enjoying my preschool Morning Joe episodes. The childhood best friend and I, Howie, would walk up to Kmart and buy a weapons pack or whatever we could afford with our $3 that we had between the two of us. But we would stare. You know that the toy stores were packed with those beautiful G.I. Joe vehicle boxes and playset boxes and figures for days on the peg. So G.I. Joe was very, very fresh in my mind. The AWA Wrestling Association that had Sergeant Slaughter in it was certainly fresh and on TV and doing fine. I remember going over Howie's house one afternoon, and he was a way bigger G.I. Joe fan than I, and he had all of the magazines, the G.I. Joe magazine. Now you say, well, the comics? No, I thought it was the comics, but it was something called G.I. Joe magazine or something like that. And without remembering the exact details, he said, oh my God, look at this. And I took a look at it, and this is what I saw. Yeah, look at that. That was the first time I had seen the Sergeant Slaughter LJN figure from Hasbro. In fact, as you could see from the advertisement, it was making a point, subtly making a point that Sergeant Slaughter was going to dominate all of your LJN figures. And I don't know if that image I showed you had the price on it or not. I'll have to go back and look. But for all you had to do, I think, was fill out the order form and either send in some proofs of purchase and some money or just send in some money. I don't know. And you got this, the LJN style Hasbro G.I. Joe WWF AWA Sergeant Slaughter figure. And I was just blown away by it in 1987, and none of us had it. None of us had it. We never had this figure, probably for multiple different reasons. Do you know how difficult it is for a kid to fill out that order form, get a $20 check from your mom, find an envelope, get a stamp, and then somehow get to your post office to mail it? Impossible. Wasn't going to happen. Wasn't going to happen. So none of us had this figure at all. None of us had the Sergeant Slaughter LJN style figure as kids. None of us. I'm still searching for the magazine that ad is in. And after all these years, I still don't know what magazine it's in. I thought it was G.I. Joe magazine. So I bought a random G.I. Joe magazine off eBay, and it wasn't in it. So if anybody knows the exact magazine that this ad is in, please send it. It's not in the comics. It is not in the comics. It's in the magazine, the G.I. Joe magazine. We never had it. We never had it. This figure as an adult collector was sort of the LJN holy grail before, Adrian Adonis on black card was a thing, or Brutus Beefcake on black card. When you were buying these figures loose, it was this, or it was Ultimate Warrior. It was the Heart Foundation for whatever reason. and it was the Sarge. Now the Sarge was in a league of his own. I'm talking $300. The Sarge was $300 back then. I got this for Christmas. The children's mother actually bought me this for Christmas 20 years ago. No, 25 years ago, in the early dating stages, probably our second Christmas together. This was under the tree, and I can guarantee you she paid less than $200 for it. It was probably through my eBay account. I think it was like $150 I won this for. And that was an extremely high amount of money for an LJN figure. I don't know what the Sarge is going for these days. I assume in the $300 to $600 range. But I owned him for the first time, and this is the figure that I got for Christmas 25 years ago. I got this figure for Christmas, 24 years ago. This was under my Christmas tree from the mother of of my seed. So it's not a great figure. It's hard as a rock, very, very little flexibility there. Oh my God. You can't move the arms, folks. That's about it. Very chiseled Sergeant Slaughter, very superhero-ish Sergeant Slaughter. Muscles for days, gigantic triceps. Sergeant Slaughter's gigantic chin is more chiseled and grizzled than, Jay Leno-y. But here he is. Here he is, the Hasbro LJN style Sergeant Slaughter, the grail of the LJNs for many years. We've had different grails throughout the years. Dusty Rhodes Hasbro was once a grail, and Sergeant Slaughter, of course, was the grail. Now, I think there are some out there that are still packaged in baggy, like with a lot of the G.I. Joe mail-aways. It just came in a bag. There was no carding for this. There was no poster. There was no bio card. It was a baggie. And I think occasionally you still see one on eBay in the bag. With today's abilities to bag something and make it look official, I wouldn't touch those. I wouldn't put any extra value on them at all. But here he is, Sergeant Slaughter, LJN style. I did meet the Sarge. That's my famous Virgil story. Sarge was one of the first wrestlers I ever met in my early 20s when I was going to signings and I was just super marked out about meeting wrestlers. I drove to Buffalo to meet Sergeant Slaughter, and I was going to have him sign my white strapped winged eagle, as all the belt collectors would say. And I got there, and Virgil had a table outside of the sports card collectible store or whatever. And Virgil was actually, I did mark for Virgil because Virgil wasn't quite Virgil yet. So when I met Virgil, he had pre-signed Ted DiBiase 8x10s also, with Virgil and Andre the Giant in the same pick. And the Ted DiBiase signature, I assume, was facsimile or whatever you call it. But that was the one I was instantly drawn to because I thought I was getting two signatures for one. And, Virgil has the worst signature, just Virgil. And then underneath Virgil, he writes WWF. And I don't know what it was, $20 or something like that. Took a photo with him. And then I'm standing in line to meet the Sarge, and Virgil is just walking up and down the line, once again, trying to sell his photo. And he got to me and he said, "Do you want me to sign the belt?" And I was like, "No, I don't, because you have nothing to do with the belt." I didn't say that. I said, "Well, I'm having everybody sign the back," which wasn't true. So I flipped over the back, and just right in the middle of the strap, on a plain white strap, he just wrote Virgil WWF. Great. So then when I met Slaughter, flipped it back over. Slaughter did his thing on the belt. But so for a while I had a wonderfully signed white strapped winged eagle with Sergeant Slaughter on it and Virgil on the back. But that's long sold many, many years ago. Before I even moved into the house, I sold that belt. That's it. Let's take a closer look at Sergeant Slaughter. All right, folks, as if you expected anything less, yes, even Sergeant Slaughter has his own custom LJN Hasbro stand from 4 Left 3D Creations. That's right. That might be the last time you hear me say 4 Left 3D Creations, because we just, I don't know, we're moving on from the LJNs. Etsy, head over to Etsy. Let's do it one last time. Head over to Etsy, 4 Left 3D Creations for all of your custom LJN stand needs. And here is the Sarge, again with his overly chiseled, grizzled, muscular appearance, protruding chin, hat, silver sunglasses, mustache, chin, barrel chest, dog tags, USA on the gut, white belt. Very nice detail, folks. Great detail. Got that G.I. Joe logo right there. Love that. Love that. Looking good on the back. Looking fine. No problems. G.I. Joe down the other leg. Black gloves. White wristbands. Awkward stance. He doesn't stand straight. That's why the stand is necessary for Sarge, because he's just got he's got kind of an awkward leg position. Fantastic play pose. Fantastic play pose. But just a weird figure. It's very hard. And if you accidentally punch your finger with it while you're playing with your wrestling figures, you're going to hurt yourself. So there he is, Sergeant Slaughter, the last of the LJN Superstars Revisited. We begin tomorrow with the announcement of the nominees for the LJN Slammy Awards. So we will see you then. Tune in, and that's in order, you maggot. Good night now.